I'm going to throw out the rundown because so we're going to ask Dan Morgan about this. They've already said they're going to pick up Bryce's fifth-year option, which I think is in the 20s, $20 million or so, $23
I don't
million?
know off the top of my head.
I think it's around $23 million. Why wouldn't you do that?
Oh, no, I would do that.
Oh, okay. You said let him play it out.
No, but I would before I give him a long-term contract,
Okay.
I'd want to see what he does this year before I'd give him a long-term contract. So it makes sense to pick up the fifth-year option.
No, that's right. So I'll ask you another question. Then BMAC was mentioned this in the break, and I want to get his thoughts and Rand's as well. Who is better situated right now at the quarterback position, the Carolina Panthers or the Houston Texans, where CJ was drafted number 2 overall in that same draft?
I would still lean to C.J. Stroud.
Why?
Because I think he's a better quarterback. I think, look, has he played better in the last time we saw him? No, he was terrible in that game. But he's a better quarterback than Bryce Young. And so I would lean to C.J. Stroud.
You didn't answer Ryan's question.
Who's better?
Who's in a better situation?
Well, he's in a better situation, too. C.J. Stroud.
You think so?
I'd rather have that defense.
Okay, no. Individually speaking. Right. Because I would say if you look at how both players how they've played as of late, Bryce has played more inspired, played more consistently than C.J. Stroud.
He's been inconsistent.
He's gotten better.
He's gotten up and down.
Bryce has gotten better. I think C.J. Stroud, best case scenario, he's been a bit stagnant or he's digressed some based on what he did when he came into the league. His best year was his rookie year. Every year outside of that, he's kind of digressed based on the numbers. Remember, Bryce Young lost his job.
Right.
They were ready to move on from Bryce Young. It was supposed to be Andy Dalton and maybe somebody else, but Bryce got another opportunity, and he never looked back. He's played fun, and they got into the playoffs last year. And I understand it was more about the division, but who cares? He led them to the playoffs. So I think
C.J. Stroud went to the playoffs too.
I understand
but not because of CJ.
But if you look at the expectations, one player, in my opinion, exceeded the expectations than Bryce Young, and another player didn't reach the expectations.
Yeah, but one's expectations are a lot lower than the other one's expectations.
All right, let's let Rand talk because you won't give Bryce a break.
No, I love it. I mean, you can skip right over me and let these two keep going back and forth. You know what I mean? Here's what I'll say, and I agree with Pete. I think because you can't look at it just one-on-one, Bryce Young because when you're saying which quarterback is best situated, because you have to take into account the entire picture.
Can I ask a follow-up? And not to interrupt you, but let's say they were traded. So how would Bryce have done in Houston and how CJ would have done in Carolina? Because I think Houston would have gone a little bit farther.
And see, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. And because again, we are looking at this from a "what have you done for me lately?"
That's right.
Viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right? No, he didn't play well his last 2 games. But let's not forget everything that C.J. Stroud has done throughout his career from the very start. Entering this season, we entered this season asking, "Is this a make it or break it season for Bryce Young?"
Yep, that's
and
right.
if he did not play as well or got better, then was it time for them to move on or look into getting a quarterback? So let's not forget that. We're looking at the C.J. Stroud question from a what have you done for me lately standpoint. I think both teams came out with the results that they wanted out of their guys. If you look at statistically, and we're talking wins, we're talking quarterback rating, completion percentage, year by year, Bryce Young has improved in every one of those categories. Yeah. Right? Which is all you want to see from a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Has he lived up to being the number 1 pick? No, he hasn't. But he has gotten better, especially with a young guy who's had as much turnover as he's had. Let's not forget C.J. Stroud also went through a change at the offensive coordinator position, had to reestablish a way of doing things, learning how to play in that system while losing a lot of your core guys that you were throwing to.
And he got hurt.
And so that's what we got to remember. I think each guy is situated well, but if I'm choosing between the two, I am choosing C.J. Stroud for everything that C.J. Stroud has around him. They've rebuilt the offensive line, which is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
They've spent at the receiver position. They got an all-pro at the receiver position. But then you may get Tank Dell back. And so that's going to help C.J. throw the ball downfield more. And you mentioned that defense. We're talking a top 5 defense in the league. All of that plays into a guy being situated and playing well.
What if the answer to the question is neither one of them is the long-term answer?
Well, that's because you're a negative Nelly.
No.
And I don't believe that either.
Yeah, I don't believe that either. But that is out there. You're hearing talk of both of them
How?
And maybe neither one of them getting a contract.
But here's the thing, and B-Mac and I, we just looked at this before we came on because we had the same conversation off camera.
Yep.
Like, can he be traded? And today, at the podium that's behind us, GM Nick Caserio said that talk and that fodder that's out there is moronic.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate about Nick Caserio is he doesn't mince his words. And he put it out there. That's moronic. And I don't see a world where C.J. Stroud isn't the quarterback for the Houston Texans moving forward.
And I don't see a world where Bryce Young isn't the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers moving forward because you can't – who's option B for either organization?
And both things can be true.
But you also have to look at it from that standpoint. Is option A paying Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud $55 million, $60 million a year, or is option B going somewhere else?
They're not there yet, though. They're not there yet.
But here's what I want to say, because and this is why I love when we have these guys on, because we can have these conversations. What I want to say is the number doesn't automatically jump to 55 because you pay them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to. Yeah. If you're not paying, if you're not in that market. It's kind of like the housing market, B-Mac. You don't just move into a neighborhood and pay the highest price of what's going on everywhere else. It's about that neighborhood. If they're not $55 million a year guys, they're not getting $55 million.
But
whether
Rand,
it's with
you know
their
how
team.
that is. The next guy up gets the next amount of money.
Right, but Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
Sam Darnold was the hottest name available to us in free agency, and he went in the 30s.
Well, I think we're starting to see a world in terms of how these contracts are being negotiated at that quarterback position where if you're not in a certain tier, regardless of how many games you started, you're only going to get X amount. Like Sam Darnold received, which was a pay raise, but it wasn't in that 55-plus range or whatever the case may be. If you're looking at both players in C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, there are reservations regarding both quarterbacks, right, concerns. But they're the future. If they were to be paid today, they would not get $55 million.
And here's the other thing, and because this is going to become a hot topic for all positions, right? The average per year and what that is. Here's a new way to look at it. As the salary cap number increases year by year, all salary numbers are going to increase. But the best way to look at it is what percentage of the cap, and look at the percentage more so than the average per year. What is the percentage of the cap that you're giving to the quarterback, the left tackle, the pass rusher, the wide receiver, the corner, the running back, whoever the case may be, instead of focusing so much of, is this guy a $20 million a year guy? Is this guy a $17 million a year guy? It's what percentage of the cap. To me, that's a better way to look at it.
Let me ask you, Pete, and speaking of that, because the Sam Darnold situation is different because he had to go prove himself a couple of times. Do you think the bubble is going to burst on quarterbacks coming off their rookie deals that they're not going to get the next Dak Prescott deal?
If they're a franchise quarterback, they're going to continue to
So does that mean Bryce and CJ?
So are they franchise quarterbacks? Have you decided that already?
I'm asking.
Do you think they are?
I wouldn't pay him $60 million.
Do you think they are?
So, first of all, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a Pete Prisco. I'm going to hit it back to you and tell you to answer the question. You don't get to get Ryan's answer, my answer, and B-Man's answer.
You know
never
my
answer the
answer.
question.
Was posed to you.
I think it's still up for debate. I think it's still.
Hit it back to you.
And I'm going to hit it right out of the park. No, I don't right now. I don't. They're not $55, $60 million quarterbacks.
But that's fair, and that's why Rand said something that was very, very pivotal. This is a big year for both quarterbacks.
So you don't believe it either, then?
But I never said I felt like they were $60 million.
Yeah. He's saying
But you just said
the future.
You said you think they're both franchise quarterbacks, but then you said
I think they're both the
big,
future.
This is big years for them, so it's a prove-it year.
Contract-wise.
It's a prove-it year for both of them.
I think they're going to get paid regardless. It's about how much they get paid. Because if you move on from Bryce Young, who do you go to? If you move on from C.J. Stroud, a guy who's taking the Houston Texans to the playoffs, regardless of how he played in 2025, who do you go to?
Personally, I would lean more towards C.J. Stroud if I had to pick one of them. But I think, like you said, I think this is a big year for both of them.
It's a big year.
Which is why you don't have to rush it.
I want to pose a question, and I don't mean to step on Ryan's toes.
Go for it.
Because I think this is going to tie into the argument. Do we believe that Sam Darnold is a franchise quarterback?
Yes. I know you have differing thoughts on that.
I think he's in the group of good quarterbacks. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback.
So that to me says you can win the championship without a franchise quarterback.
Well, it's happened before.
But
the Eagles won one without a franchise quarterback, didn't they, a year before?
That's the point, though.
You said what?
The Eagles won one without a franchise quarterback.
We're talking about Nick Foles.
No, and Jalen Hurts, too.
Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback.
Nick Foles certainly was not a franchise quarterback.
That's who I thought you were referring to.
He didn't. it's happened before, but what does it take to win without a franchise quarterback? It takes one of the great defenses we've ever seen.
And what does Houston have?
One of the great defenses we've ever seen.
That's the point. So that's, excuse me, that's where we have to, first of all, and this is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I believe God only made so many guys what we call franchise quarterbacks, right? And it's fine. You don't have to have that to win. You can win with a good quarterback, that tier you were talking about. You can win with that, but you have to continue to build around those guys. And that's what you can do with either one of these guys. So you don't have to be a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl. We just saw that. And that's why I asked the question.
But if you look at the history of recent
Darnold.
Super Bowl success, it come with most of the franchise quarterbacks.
And let me retract and give C.J. Stroud some praise, because you talked about building around. The offensive line in 2024 was bad. You know what the Houston Texans did? They moved on from their best offensive lineman on a bad unit in Laramie Tunsil. In 2025, they were horrible again, and then you had the injuries. So your quarterback digressed, no question. He was getting hit, never had a comfortable pocket to work within to be able to be at his best. You look at C.J. Stroud's best seasons in Houston. Look at the times he was sacked. Look at his rookie year and how they protected him. He did numbers. So to Rand's point, in terms of being a franchise quarterback and being able to be productive and consistent, you have to have quality guys surrounding you, not just at the skill position players, as skill positional players, but the offensive line.
But again, we go back. We thought after year one there was no doubt C.J. Stroud was a franchise quarterback. No doubt. There was no question about it. And now there is doubt.
Yeah.
And there's doubt about Bryce Young. That's the reality of it.
But they're going in different directions.
I mean, but
right now.
I'll give you another example. There was doubt about Trevor Lawrence being a franchise quarterback up until last year.
But this is what they've just
But
talked
Trevor
about.
still got paid.
Huh?
He still got paid.
That's what I mean.
So
That's
now
he got paid.
Doing less.
But he got paid. So that question is, he got 55 or whatever he got. So now is Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud going to get 55?
But the thing that happened with Trevor is that they got the GM right. We talk about it all the time. They got the head coach right. They added players around him, and we saw him take the next step. And I think that's a Sam Darnold answer as well, because Sam Darnold was really good in Minnesota, really good obviously this year, and he struggled in New York like everyone has. So I think fit matters. We talk about that all the time on the podcast.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. But the answer to answer the number one question we've talked about here, are Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud franchise quarterbacks worthy of a contract at $55 to $60 million a year?
I think
And
we
the
all
answer to
agree on
that question, I think all of us would say no right now.